Tonight on the program, we explore public transportation in and around Bangkok and ask whether it's convenient, cost-effective, or simply a hassle. Then we explore part of Thailand's cultural heritage, a famous traditional folk dance, and what can be done to give it more international exposure. And we find out how Australia is promoting its culture through comic books. Swadika, and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. The rising oil prices in Thailand has become an additional burden for many people, not only those who have to drive, but also those who have to take the taxi because the fare prices have increased as well. If we look at the current oil prices in Thailand, we can see that they have increased substantially, predominantly due to the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has driven prices up by 5% to over $121 a barrel on Wednesday. Here in Thailand, the current prices of most types of petrol are approaching 40 baht per liter, with the exception of diesel, for which the government has capped at no more than 30 baht. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has suggested that people avoid using private vehicles to reduce the consumption of energy as prices are continuing to increase.
เรื่องแรกที่เราควรจะช่วยกันได้นะโดยที่ก่อนที่เราจะช่วยคือการใช้พลังงานอย่างประหยัดได้ไหมนะเรื่องของการขับใช้รถยนต์ผมไม่ได้ห้ามใช้นะใครใช้ได้ก็ใช้ใครที่ไม่จำเป็นก็ลดลงนะวันนี้ราคาพลังงานจะเอาเฉพาะค่าน้ำมันอย่างเดียวเราใช้เงินประมาณวันละ600 ล้านบาทในการดูแลราคาน้ำมันดีเซลอย่างเดียวขนาดนี้แล้วลองคิดดูแล้วกันว่าถ้ามันขึ้นไปอย่างนี้ทุกวันเราจะให้เงินวันละเท่าไหร่ถ้าเราใช้วิธีการแบบนี้นะฝากช่วยคิดด้วยแล้วกัน
One suggestion is to use public transport instead. If we look at the public transportation in Bangkok, there are many options to choose from, depending on your convenience and your budget. These include the BTS SkyTrain, the MRT subway, public buses, or even vans, as well as the local Tao Trucks. Although some of the routes extend to the outskirts of Bangkok and even to nearby provinces, these modes of transport do not cover all parts of the city. Not only that, people living outside of Bangkok may have fewer options, which means they have no choice but to use their own private vehicles instead. Frankly speaking, public transport is not that cheap either, especially those who live far away from the city, because taking public transport can be a hassle for them as well. To give you a better picture, our reporter Chalalak Janmonpen will take you through her normal commute to work.
It's 7 a.m. right now. I'm leaving home for work today. I need to be there by 9 to get ready for my shift. It actually takes 1 hour to get from where I live in Samut Prakan to Thai PBS on Vipawadi Rangsit Road, but I usually give it 1.5 to 2 hours just to be safe because it's quite a long commute and sometimes the SkyTrain breaks down and it can take much longer. We never know. But first off, we need to get from here to the BTS, which is about 400 meters. It's obviously a walkable distance, but I still prefer to take a motorcycle taxi because sometimes it's just too hot in the sun. If I get lucky, one of the riders will notice and come and pick me up, but if not, I just have to walk. We're going to get off next station and catch a bus next because the SkyTrain doesn't go close to our office on Vipawadi Rangsit Road. transit here gives me the most anxiety because I have to wait for the bus and I don't know for how long. So the unpredictable wait time was the worst part, but once we got on the bus, we were safe because it only takes probably 15 minutes to get to Thai PBS. Plus the bus got AC, so it's relatively convenient and comfortable. Thai PBS and it's now a little over 8:30, which means that it took me about 1.5 hours to get to work from home, which is 40 kilometers away. And it cost me about 80 baht to get here, which means that I have to spend over 150 baht every day to get to work and then go home in the evening. And it can be more if I finish late at night and the bus have already stopped running. And it's quite costly given the fact that the country's minimum wage is only 350 baht. And I want to highlight that Bangkok commuting can be really stressful, and it's not just about the cost, but also about the pressure of having to come to work on time when the wait time and the traffic are not being fully predictable. For me, I am still lucky because my working hours are flexible. But for a lot of people in Bangkok, they're not so lucky. They have strict working hours and they might not be able to afford the most comfortable and convenient modes of travel. Some can only afford the non-AC buses, which cost much less. In exchange, however, they have to trade against quality of life, such as waking up even earlier, spending even more time on the roads, sitting in the heat and the PM 2.5 air pollution. Living closer to work is an option which not everyone can afford. The prices of property and rent in Bangkok are not cheap. It's nearly impossible for people in the workforce who are mostly middle or lower middle class to buy a house or a condo in the city. It's just too expensive. Shalalaktan Wanpin, Thai PBS World.
Apparently, this is how she gets to work every single day. And speaking of public transportation, one of the most common methods to go to work is to either use the BTS SkyTrain or the MRT subway. Many people think that these two trains are very convenient and more timely compared to other types of public transportation, but that's not really the case for everyone. Let's find out more in this report. The underground train, or MRT, is among the most popular forms of public transportation in Bangkok. With an average interval between trains of 4 to 7 minutes, many people find it convenient and more reliable than other modes of public transport in the city.
Commute station
ใช้ทุกวันที่ทำงานนะคะ
ทำไมถึงชอบนั่ง MRT มากกว่า
มันก็ระยะเวลามันสามารถกะได้มากกว่าพวกแบบรถเมล์อะไรแบบเนี้ยตัวแท็กซี่จากบ้านมามันก็ค่อนข้างแพงด้วย
ชอบ MRT มากกว่าค่ะ
เพราะอะไรคะ
เพราะว่ารู้สึกว่า MRT ก็คือปลอดภัยด้วยส่วนหนึ่งแล้วก็แต่ว่าคนมันก็เยอะกว่าก็จริงแต่ว่ารู้สึกว่าแบบเรารู้สึกเซฟตี้กว่าแล้วก็เดินทางง่ายกว่า
One trip along the MRT Blue Line costs around 16 to 42 baht per day. It can, however, cost up to 70 baht per day for passengers who need to transit to the MRT Purple Line. Taking the MRT saves money compared to driving or taking taxis, especially when oil prices are reaching new highs. For some people, however, driving is their only option as they don't live close to any of the train stations.
ผมเองไม่ค่อยใช้ครับผมส่วนมากขับรถครับพอดีผมโชคดีผมขับดีเซลก็เลยรัฐบาลยังอุ้มอยู่ก็หวังว่าไอ้สงครามที่ยูเครนก็จะเลิกเร็วๆนี้จะได้ราคาน้ำมันจะได้แบบกลับมาสู่ปกติ
ต่อไปนี้เราจะหันมาใช้ public transportation มากกว่าการขับรถไหมคะ
สำหรับผมไม่เป็นไม่ได้ผมบ้านอยู่นอกเมืองครับผมก็เลยยังไงผมต้องขับรถอยู่แล้วแต่ถ้าเลือกได้ผมก็คงใช้ public transport มากขึ้นถ้าบ้านอยู่ในเมืองนะ แต่สถานการณ์ผมมันไม่ใช่
According to statistics, the average number of passengers using the MRT between January and February this year is not that different from the same period last year, with around 180,000 passengers per day. Trains in the city should be part of the solution to the congested traffic, or so many people thought. As we can see, though, with limited access to the neighborhoods in the outskirts of Bangkok, it is still not the answer for many commuters. Well, apart from the MRT subway, another form of transportation that many people use is the public buses. Although the public buses are everywhere around the city, it is not really the top choice for many locals. Let's find out why with กิติพัฒน์ ชื่นสุขจิต
เสน่ห์ของรถเมล์ไทยเป็นสิ่งที่คาดเดาไม่ได้
เก่าคลาสสิกดีครับแบบพังๆผุๆหน่อย
เสน่ห์เหรอคะความความเก่าหรือเปล่าความเก่าความซิ่ง
ผมมองว่ามันชิวๆนะผมไม่ถูก
มันก็ถือว่าเป็นโครงสร้างพื้นฐานที่ถูกที่สุดในการเดินทางครับ
There are many ways to get around Bangkok, and by public bus is one of the cheapest options you can find. This includes private joint ventures and those operated by the Bangkok Mass Transit Authority or BMTA. According to the BMTA, there are almost 7,500 buses in the service, including the standard rate buses, air-conditioned buses, private joint venture buses, private joint venture minibuses, shuttle buses, air-conditioned vans, and CNG microbuses. The bus is, however, not the first choice of transport for many, mostly because their timing is notoriously unreliable.
ปัญหาของรถเมล์หลักๆก็น่าจะเป็นการมาช้าแล้วก็เวลาที่มาไม่แน่นอนครับบางคันนี่บางทีก็15นาที30นาทีซึ่งระยะเวลามันนานเกินไป
อยู่แต่ถ้าเป็นรถที่มันมีปัญหาก็คือรถร้อนนะครับรถแดงผมว่าไม่ควรมีแล้วมันควันดำนะครับบางครั้งเนี่ยรถเมล์ก็ไม่จอดป้ายบ้างนะครับแล้วก็จอดเลยป้ายบ้างก็มีครับผม
มันมาไม่สม่ำเสมอค่ะเพราะว่าเรากะเวลาที่เราจะเดินทางไม่ออกบางทีเราออกมาไวแล้วรถเมล์มันก็มาช้า
It's not all bad though. This regular commuter said not only the bus is the most affordable mode of transport, but he also enjoys the ride because he can sit and watch what's happening around him.
ผมชอบนั่งรถร้อนเพราะว่าหนึ่งผมเป็นคนที่ชอบดูวิวสองข้างทางเวลานั่งมันจะนั่งแบบชิลๆไปเรื่อยฮะรถแอร์เนี่ยข้อเสียคือถ้าเรามองสองข้างทางมันมักจะติดโฆษณาที่เขามาปิดข้างรถนะเราแบบคือฟิลเราเนี่ยเรานั่งรถเนี่ยบางทีเราไม่ได้นั่งแค่ถึงปลายทางเฉยไงที่เราอยากนั่งแล้วทำแบบคิดนู่นคิดนี่คิดงานที่ไม่ออกก็นั่งรถเมล์
For some foreigners living in Bangkok, buses are not their first choice and say they need to be improved.
To be honest, they're a little bit old compared to in England where they're quite new. In England we have like a timetable, so we know okay the bus will come at this time.
The bus stops are also important for commuters. Some have no roof or shelter from sun or rain, and some don't even have seats. Most of the people to whom we spoke said that if the bus service improves its punctuality and the quality of the vehicles, especially red buses, it will become the first choice for them and it will be better accommodate every class of people in Bangkok. กิติพัฒน์ ชื่นสุขจิต reporting for Thai PBS World.
Well, apart from the buses and trains that are available around Bangkok and nearby provinces, there is also another public transport that is quite unique and you won't be able to find it outside of Southeast Asia. This is called Tao Trucks. And let's find out more with Thailand Janwanpin.
Another mode of transport used in urban areas around Thailand is the Rot Song Tao behind me right here. It is a pickup truck adapted into a share ride similar to a minibus Inside, there are 2 rows of passenger seats, which is why it is called Song Tao, which literally means 2 rows. The Song Tao has been around in Thailand and other Southeast Asian countries for a long time, since before buses became popular, in fact. In Bangkok, where commuters have more options such as buses, vans, or the underground and SkyTrain services, the Song Tao has become a feeder service along narrow and lengthy side streets where buses don't go, and in those places which are too far for a motorcycle taxi to reach and still be cost-effective. Song Tao serve routes where buses are limited, like in this area, which is in the outskirts of Bangkok, connecting to Samut Prakan. What is great about the Song Tao is that it's a cheap option as a feeder service, costing only 8 baht per ride. It connects people with the main mode of transport into the city, so it's relatively convenient, cheap, and fast. Song Tao do, however, have some safety issues since there are no doors. The only way for people to embark and disembark is via a step at the open back of the truck. It offers almost no protection in case of an accident. Passengers can just fly out of the truck if it is hit hard. Plus, when it is full, some passengers can also just stand on the step and hang on to the pole at the back, which is extremely dangerous. Chalalak Janwanpen, Thai PBS World.
Well, we can say that the Song Tao trucks can be very cheap to use, but it can also come with a lot of safety issues as well. And now let's have a look at the other stories in our weekly roundup.
The cabinet has rolled out a number of measures to help the public cope with the rising prices of goods, services and energy prices, some as a result of the war in Ukraine. The measures, some to last until June, others till July or August, include subsidies on and control of the prices of cooking gas, gasohol, NGV, LPG, diesel and electricity, as well as reductions in contribution to the Social Security Fund. The Land Transport Department has also been instructed to ensure that there are no increases in taxi service charges. The Security and Exchange Commission, or SEC, has issued a set of regulations to be applied to digital assets operators to take effect on April 1st, barring them from using digital assets as a means of payment for goods or services. The regulations are intended to prevent cybercrime, money laundering, data leaks, and any threat to financial stability and the economic system. The use of digital assets for investment is not affected by the new regulations. The Ministry of Tourism and Sports is set to propose to the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, or CCSA, that the Thailand pass requirement for all international arrivals be revoked, possibly from June 1st, and that the RT-PCR COVID-19 test required upon arrival be replaced with a quicker rapid antigen test from May 1st. According to Tourism and Sports Minister Pipat Rashakit Pragan, the plan would only be possible if COVID-19 infections and deaths during and after the long Songkran long holiday in April remain stable at between 50,000 and 60,000 cases a day, including those who have only tested positive using antigen tests, and daily fatalities do not exceed 100.
And now let's talk about arts and culture. If we talk about the traditional folk dances around Thailand, one of them would be Nora from the southern of Thailand, which has recently been included on the UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list. But what can be done to shed more limelight on this cultural heritage on the international stage? Let's find out more in the special report.
For 2 years since the pandemic has hit hard, this is the first time to relish the return of Tuat Nuan Thong Samli procession. Once a year, Tuat Nuan Thong Samli, a sacred Buddha image from the late Ayutthaya era in the royal garments, will be brought out from Wat Prakok, then proceeding to the barge procession in Tak Bak Tewo, a religious festival scenario celebrating the end of Buddhist Lent Day. It is considered one of the most significant traditions for the locals in Tambon Chumpon of Sathing Phra district of Songkhla. Tuat Nuan Thong Samli is a center of faith as she is believed to be the root and ancestry of Nora's family. The ceremony will be joined by the families of Nora lineage, getting together to celebrate Nora. After this, Thailand's Souther dance genre is acknowledged and registered by UNESCO in the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The procession will also be joined by hundreds of Nora performers, paying respect and tribute to Luang Pu Thuat, the most revered monk of Wat Phra Kaw, as well as Tuat Nuan Thong Samli.
Because the people in the southern of Thailand believe Tuat Yai Mi is very important for ceremony. Then in front of Tuat Yai Mi, it's very exciting and very happy because some group of Nora never show for worship for Tuat Yai Mi.
To raise awareness and express the deep appreciation for Thailand's cultural heritage that aligns with Thai PBS mission, this event, on the very same occasion, marks its 15th anniversary as Thailand's leading public broadcasting service. As our purpose and mission is aimed at creating a platform for public participation, we're working hand in hand with local Nora communities in the south, as well as the Institute of Thai Studies at Chulalongkorn University, to hold a panel discussion entitled A Look at Nora Through Cultural Lens, celebrating its glorious past and hopeful future.
So for the Intergovernmental Committee of the 2003 Convention of UNESCO, they saw that Nora is a form of art that is associated with oral tradition and local culture and has ceremonies that is very meaningful to the religion and the local belief. That's why it's something that reflects the cultural identity and the way of life of the people.
It has to be the community, the government, the education, people that, and also Thai people that look into Nora and admire or understand and see the potential of the people who handle this thing with care.
We would like to emphasize our commitment to connect people values and with all walks of life, and we believe that as a supporter of art and culture in this country will bring and will empower people participation, as well as will promote the learning space of the people, and this is the commitment of Thai PBS.
Nora, the wisdom heritage of Thailand, by the Media Center of Arts and Culture, Thai PBS, with the Nora communities, will organize the very same event from 25th to 26th of March, with a goal to allow the Nora troops in the south to avail the opportunity to reunite and showcase their shared and common identities to those interested in the history of Nora. The goal of this event is to help preserve the spirit of Nora for future generations. Live from Wat Phra Kaw, Songkhla, I'm Wenika Vichaywathana.
And this panel discussion will be one of the main highlights of this event as well. And now let's have a look at Australian culture this time, where Kitipat Chisukjit will take you to this exhibition which talks about the comic books and how does it reflect the Aussie culture as well.
When it comes to comics, Japan and America usually come to mind. Today will be a different experience for most of us though, as we are going to explore the Australian comic exhibition at the Bangkok Arts and Culture Centre. So follow me.
For the first time in Thailand, we get to experience a brand new exhibition featuring artwork from 33 prolific Australian cartoonists and illustrators, including manga-style artists and Zen pencils block artists. and we discover how Australian comics interact with culture and literature. The Australian Embassy in Thailand, in collaboration with curator Jakub Mazarant of Illustrate Your Life, are holding the Australian Comics Promoting Culture Through Visual Storytelling exhibition in Thailand at the Bangkok Arts and Culture Centre from the 15th to the 27th of March. The exhibition is designed to introduce their original styles and approaches to the medium. It consists of selected pages from various comic books and graphic novels. One of the artists participating in the event is Ben Mitchell. He lives in an Australian beach town called Newcastle. Ben creates comics based on real people and places in his neighborhood. He said he wants to create a story that only he can tell about what's happening in his city.
I did this story about an organic farm that continued operating during COVID. I did a story about my friend's restaurant. He runs like a sandwich shop that converted into a grocery store that did deliveries during the COVID lockdown, things like that. So I try to tell stories that are very close to my home and very close to my heart, that I feel a responsibility to be communicating with the rest of the world.
For Nicholas, a comics scholar at Chulalongkorn University, the highlight of Australian comics are visuals and how the stories are told.
There is something that is really vivid, that is really strong visually. So the lines are really telling, are really graphic, so visually it's really strong. You can really see the characters right away. The colors are vivid, so it gives a sense like something like a punch. It's really punchy. About the storytelling, what is also interesting is the diversity of topics. So there is a lot of, here in this exhibition, non-fiction comics. So it means that these are real stories. So they are based on true stories that happened to them, autobiographic stories. So they are telling their own story, what happened to them. And I think that is really, really interesting and really interesting to discover.
The exhibition comes to Thailand after touring Germany and Poland with great success, according to the Polish curator Jakub. He said the show will ignite new creative relations and future collaboration opportunities for Australian and Thai artists. What's important to him is to prove that comics can find their place everywhere.
Comics and embassies, they don't really mix. They don't really go well together, because embassy may be perceived as really formal place that comics maybe don't belong. We are able to prove this wrong. So we are able to prove that comics can find its place everywhere.
Kitipat Chern Sukjit, reporting for Thai PBS World.
A very interesting event indeed. And we'll be leaving you tonight with beautiful images of Khao Sok National Park in Surat Thani province. And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:15 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media, including our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Sawasdee ka.